actually Gawley. So nice to meet you all. I'm so happy to be here. My day job is that I'm VP of Strategic Growth for Sotheby's International Realty in Dallas and the Dallas-Fort Worth market. I am responsible for recruiting agents, bringing them over, our acquisition and expansion strategy as well. In the last 12 months, I've brought on 250 million plus in agents, with another 100 coming on in the next, couple of months. It's all about timing. But I've also built a recruiting system that has been adopted by our Sotheby's partners as well as our Century 21 franchises. I coach them on how to recruit as well. I am super passionate about helping top producers scale strategically while protecting your time, because you can spend a ton of time out calling people, but if you don't have a plan behind what you're doing, you're going to be spinning your wheels.
And I am Kamp. My background is in B2B SaaS strategy and customer success, but I joined Corded about a year and a half ago from a medium-sized tech company. I lead our customer success and our training team, so my job is to help all of our customers be really successful using Corded. I have heard kind of it all from a strategy standpoint, what's worked, what hasn't worked. Really excited to be here. I would say my passion is just kind of training. So just getting people to understand a really great tool and teaching it to them is something that I'm really passionate about.
So how do you get started with recruiting? It's really daunting to open Corded and look at the screen and say what am I going to do with all of this information? How do I prioritize this? So I try to break it down into digestible information. What I do first is I build out my list. And again, I focus primarily on luxury agents, so agents producing over 20 million, but you can apply this strategy to any sect of agent that you want. I am going to look for my 25 to 50 agent list. I think it's more manageable when you distill it down to a smaller group. Obviously, you're going to have more than one group and you're going to cycle people out over time, but you really want to hyper focus in on these people that you want to bring on board. I use Corded to research my productions. I research their listings, their style, figure out mutual connections, and file this all away. I'm not going to use this information on my first few touch points with an agent that I'm reaching out to. And then the other piece of this pie is that I'm going to prioritize them into tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Those numbers have nothing to do with production. It has to do with how badly I want them. Tier 1 is my dream agent. Okay, who do I want to be on my team? I'm prioritizing them first, and then so on.
On that second bullet point, researching production, listing, style, what are the data sources that you use to conduct all of that research? Obviously, Corded, we've talked about.
Yeah, so obviously Corded is my first stop. That is the only data aggregator that I use. Outside of that, I'm gonna Google the person first, because I want to see where they've been featured. Have they been published, anything like that. I'm gonna pull up their personal websites so I can see how do they market themselves, what market are they truly operating in, what are their listings, what have they recently sold, what kind of business are they running. And then I'm also going to go find them on Instagram and TikTok, because I think that's where you find out where someone really is. Your website can say one thing, but who you are on Instagram and TikTok is way more accurate representation of who you are. So I think you can get a good understanding of someone's personality based on those things. And that really guides how I'm going to proceed.
There are a few goals of research. It's can be used as a filter. I'm sure you've done some additional research on people that you found and Corded, and then you're probably not the best fit. It can be a tactic. So it can be okay, once we're talking, I want to convey to them that I've done my research and whatever. But I think more than anything, it's you actually do legitimately care. You're doing research because you care, and it should be clear to them that you did research not as a tactic, but because you if you can convey that you genuinely wanted to know more about them and you did the work to get to know them, that I think can be really powerful in whatever first, second conversation you have with them.
Definitely. And another thing to point out is when I'm talking about mutual connections, I'm not only talking about business relationships, because there are many times where I want to get in touch with a particular agent, and I might not want to utilize my business connections. So I'm going to use Facebook is the only thing I use for mutual connections. I don't use Facebook for anything else. But I'm going to get on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm going to see who our mutual friends are and see if there's any connection point there, because when you have someone personal, that is your connecting point, your conversion rate is going to be a lot higher. Also, it automatically drives trust when you know the same people and you can let them know that you know the same people. Okay, so this one is an interesting one. I do not ever go in for the hard sell right away. I'm gonna do my research. I'm gonna build out my list. I'm gonna know who my targets are, and internally, I'm gonna know a lot about these people. But instead of just calling them and running through a list, because that's really not a personal way to go about things, I'm gonna try to position myself in their orbit. Now, this is not possible in all spaces, but for those tier one agents, the ones that are like my dream agents that I want to work with and I want to bring on, I'm going to position myself in their orbit. And that's actually easier to do than you think. I'm going to attend events that they're going to. I'm going to go to the brokers open tours. Like in my particular market, every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we have brokers open tours, and it's where like all of the luxury brokerages like compile a list of what's open. So I'm gonna go pop in those, and I'm gonna introduce myself, and I'm gonna be seen. I'm gonna be a presence at those on a consistent basis so I can get in front of them. Again, I'm gonna use warm introductions as strategic currency. Like I wanna be introduced to these people by someone that they already know, like, and trust, because they're probably gonna know, like, and trust me a lot faster. The other piece to that puzzle is that I'll engage lightly with them on social media before I actually do my outreach. So I'll make sure I follow them on Instagram and TikTok. And then, I think something really important to remember is, like, if you cold DM someone on Instagram, if they're not following you back, your message is going to get shoved into the other category and they're probably not going to see it. But if you reply to their stories, they're going to see it. So be really strategic about how you're engaging with people. And then if you have the opportunity and you have the capability to do it, something really cool to do is to sponsor like a high-end event and invite those people that you want to come on board with you to mingle and to come and be your guest. So a great example of this is that there's a few agents that I want to personally like get to know, but I don't want to be salesy with them. So I bought a table, and I am doing the headline sponsor for our brokerage at a mahjong event at Dallas Country Club in a couple months. And with that ticket, I get 16 seats. And so my goal with that is to strategically invite these people that I want to work with to come and be my guests. The benefit is that they all get to cross-network with each other, so they feel like they're getting something out of it, but I'm really getting something out of it because I'm in front of them and I get to like be at the same table as them. Something that you have to keep in mind is that your first impression is the most important. You only get one first impression, and if someone decides that they don't like you right out of the gates, it's going to be an uphill battle to change their mind. On that note, your outreach needs to feel really personal and specific, and I am never hard selling someone on the first go round. I am probably also never having a business conversation with someone in that first meeting or that first conversation. Again, always lead with kindness and curiosity. One of my favorite tagline, my favorite opening line when I actually do cold call someone, or I call somebody that I maybe like have a mutual connection with, is that I say to them, hey, I was just in a meeting with Shannon, and Shannon, she told me about a transaction that you guys worked together recently, and she said you were the kindest agent that she's ever worked with. And I knew when I heard that about that, and that you were, like, when somebody says somebody else is kind, I know that I need to get to know them. Well, by doing that, I just told somebody that they're kind. If I call you and I tell you I heard you're kind, like, are you gonna be a jerk to me? Probably not. Like, you're disarming them right out of the gates, and so it makes people like more open to have a conversation with you. I've used this line many, many, many times over, and I have a very good conversion rate with it. I actually have shared this along the way, and I've had many people come back to me and say, hey, I tried that. I tried that on people and it worked. I'm really open about what I do. I never call myself a recruiter because I personally hate that word, and I know that other people, like, they don't want to be recruited. So I always lead with, hey, I'm VP of Strategic Growth. I've heard wonderful things about you, and when I hear nice things about other agents, it's really important to me to get to know them. Would you be open to having a coffee? Let's figure out if there might be some mutual alignment. Potentially we could work together at some point down the road. Are you open to that? And generally people say yes, because they're like, A, I want to network. B, you probably like have some information that might be useful to me. And then as soon as they say yes, I never let them off the phone. I say, okay, that's so great. Let's open our calendars and let's pick a time. And then we get a time and I say, great, what's your email address? And I send them an invitation before we even get off the phone so that we've like mutually agreed. But most important point here is that you really only get one shot with these agents. Like, it's very hard to come back from a bad first impression. I love how you guys talk about making deposits with people because that's truly what we're doing. When you are talking to people or getting to know people that are new to you, I think it's really important to understand that it takes time to build a relationship. It takes time to build trust. And so we're not going to hard sell them right out of the gates, especially when we're talking about agents who are already producing. So I try to lay out a map in my head of how many interactions before I actually get to the hard sell phase. So interactions 1 to 3 are really like a familiarity phase. I am making sure that they know who I am, they recognize my face. We are cross-pollinating in one way or another. After that, I'm going to try to find a way to drive value for them. Maybe I'm answering a question, maybe I am providing a connection with them to someone else, like whatever it is, I'm finding ways to provide value to them without asking for anything in return. So once I've established this positive relationship, that's the point where I really say, like, okay, I think it's time for us to have a conversation. I don't know that we're going to be a mutual fit for each other, but maybe it'd be fun to find out. So the value phase is really, really important here. What does that look like? You're discreetly providing value to them. Obviously, you're providing market intel first. Like you can do that privately, shared with them. You can do that via your social channels, but really keep it casual and relevant. I think one of the best ways that I drive value for people is by sharing off markets. Obviously, you need to like do that carefully and with discretion, but anytime I see something that I think might interest another agent in my orbit, I share that with them. Obviously, it helps the agent that's listing it. It helps us. It helps everybody. So that's really cool. It also is a great way to like provide FOMO because you're like, wow, you have access to all of these things off market. Like I should be a part of whatever you're doing. Another really great way that I've found that we've provided some market intel is I had an agent that I've had a relationship with for a long time, and I never was actively trying to recruit her because she's also a friend. And I was like, I'm not trying to, overstep on a friendship. She called me one day because she was having a really hard time. She had a unique property under contract, and the appraisal came back, and it came back way like so far below that they weren't even going to be able to complete the transaction. And the issue was that it's farm and ranch, and it also like could potentially be commercial. So she called me and she let me know like, hey, I'm like really frustrated. I'm having this problem. I didn't say I commiserated with her and offered empathy, but I didn't say anything. So when I hung up with her, I reached out to like 5 of my farm and ranch agents and then also our commercial team. And I was like, does anybody have some off-market comps that they can share with me? And I had every single one of them sent me an off-market comp. I was able to send it to this particular agent, and she was able to like contest the appraisal, get the value up, and they were able to close on this deal. And it was really significant for her. The people within her own brokerage weren't even able to help her with this. And so what was so great was 2 weeks later, after like that closed, she called me and was like, I need to come on board. Like, please bring me. So not only did we get her, but she also brought over 2 other agents, and she formed like a very significant team for us. So I helped her without expecting anything, and it ended up being like a really great for everybody. Another thing is really celebrating wins. When you see somebody that's doing something great in the market, you should offer them your congratulations and tell them that they're doing a great job. I think that happens so little in this industry that when you actually do it, people will remember it. Quiet support, resources, tools, solutions that will save them time without reframing it as recruiting. And then I actually just shared the example that I was going to put up here, the contested appraiser. The value phase should really feel helpful, authentic, and organic. It should never feel forced. Like you are doing things out of the kindness of your heart because you're a good person, you're helping other people, and that will multiply for you over time. So the conversation phase is a really, really important part because this is where you're going to win them. For me, this is a 3-step process, and I keep it to a 3-step process because when I have a step-by-step process, I know what comes next, and I am letting these agents that I'm having conversations with know that, hey, I'm not just here to get coffee with you anymore. We are here to have a business discussion, and at the end of this discussion, we're either gonna get to a yes or a no, and you're gonna have to give me an answer. Like we won't be prolonging this. Now, obviously, I say it a lot nicer than that, but I'm very clear with them that these are the things that we'll be doing. So step 1 for me is that I do a really deep discovery. I want to understand an agent's business. I need to know what their pain points are. I want to know what their goals are personally and professionally. And I want to know what their frustrations are as they relate to time, money, and growing their business, because these are all deeply personal to each individual agent. The next phase of this is what I call solutioning. That is actually not a real word. If you try to type it in, you're going to get the red underline every time. But I think it's the best word for what I'm doing. So I've listened to the agent. I have listened to you guys. I know what's hard for you. I know what your pain points are. I know what you want to do. And I also know what tools, what technology, what support I'm going to be able to offer you in order to help you grow. And so I'm going to take these things and I'm going to apply that to your pain points. And I'm going to solve your problems for you, so that by the end of this, you're going to be telling me why you can't live without whatever it is I'm offering you. The other really important piece to this is that I'm going to tie these specific pieces of the puzzle and those specific pieces of the value proposition to an ROI. So I'm going to let you know how much time my technology is going to be able to save you. And I'm going to tell you, like, okay, well, I can probably save you 5 hours in a week using this technology. Like, what will you be doing with those extra 5 hours? Are you going to go to your kid's soccer game because now you have time for it? Or are you going to, like, cold call more clients so you can build your business? The final step of the process is a financial review and potentially an invitation to join with us. The financial review piece is really important, because you're going to have people who are very interested in splits, or who are very stuck on what is my split going to be. And right here's your opportunity to show them all of the value that you've provided for them and why that split is maybe not the most important piece of the puzzle. So you're going to be able to do a side-by-side financial comparison. You'll demonstrate the upside and then potentially extend a personalized invitation for them to join you. If you've done your job really well at this point, you're not going to have to offer them really any concessions to join, because your value proposition is what's going to have them excited to come and join you. And you've also done a good job of showing how that equates from a dollars perspective.
Question for you, Ashley, on that first step, the discovery piece, because it's so important. It's what kind of, the whole thing is predicated on. We hear from our customers all the time that I hear constantly, I'm happy where I am, or I don't want to move right now, whatever it is. How do you get people to actually open up? Because I'm sure you talk to people who, you're doing the discovery about their business and they're kind of like, yeah, everything's great. I just had the best year of my career. I'm happy where I am, whatever it is. How do you get them to open up?
I ask a lot of questions, and I never ask a yes or no question. I'm constantly asking them open-ended questions, so that they have to keep having this conversation. The other piece of this puzzle too, though, is that ahead of time, I've used Courted, so I know if an agent's business has been on a roller coaster. I know if they've had a steady incline or decline. So I actually can call them out a little bit in a very gracious way if they're not, if they're trying to kind of play off that everything's been great. So I'll ask questions about it. I also know whether they've changed brokerages over the course of time. If I see somebody that has changed brokerages probably more than 2 times in their career within, a 7-year period of time, then that's going to lead me to ask more questions, because they're clearly experiencing some pain point that needs to be solved. But that's kind of where I take that. Always open-ended questions, always just dial in a little bit deeper on whatever it is they say. I also get them talking first and foremost about their personal lives. Tell me about your family. What do you like to do? I love to travel. My husband and I travel a lot. We travel with our kids, so I use that as a connecting point, because I think most people like to travel, and I'm like, oh, have you been anywhere fun lately? And I get them talking and get them warmed up before we really dive in. But the other piece to this too is I'm a pretty forward person, and I tell them hey, we're going to be talking about finances here, and I'm going to ask you questions about what you're paying for from a subscription standpoint, or what you're spending money on. So just know I'm going to ask you some uncomfortable questions. I've never had anyone just outwardly say no, and if they do just say no, I'm not sharing that with you, then I know that they're not going to be a fit for us out of the gates, because if you're not willing to share and you're not willing to participate in the conversation, then we should probably part ways and move on. How do you address people when they say, I'm happy where I am? I think that's probably my number one objection. Show of hands if you get that when you talk to people. Yeah, I'm happy where I am also happens a lot when you call people out of the blue. They may say thank you so much for calling, but I really am happy where I am. I'll meet with you, but I'm not interested. So my favorite thing to ask them is this particular question. Are you actually happy where you are, or do you fall into one of 3 buckets? The 3 buckets I usually see people fall into are, one, they actually are very happy where they are. They love their brand, they love their team, they love where they are, and they truly don't want to move. And that is great. And I want to know that out of the gates. The second bucket they might fall into is, well, it's fine. I'm happy, like I'm comfortable, but I just do not have the time or energy to figure out what to do next. And the third bucket is like, I'm actually not really happy. I just maybe like don't want to admit it. And I don't want to know what comes next when I finally say I'm not happy. And I ask them, like, which of those 3 buckets do you actually fall into? A lot of times it's bucket number 2. Like they're fine, but they don't feel like they have the energy to commit to exploring a new option. And so that's my favorite bucket, okay? Is like, I'm going to do this with you. We're going to go down this journey and I'm going to make it really easy for you. And at the end of it, we might find out that we're a mutual fit or we might not, but worst case scenario for you, you've learned something new. So obviously, we're always trying to have a path to yes. Sometimes we get told no, and that's fine. No to me is not no. It's just not right now. I do not take no personally ever. I'm always like, hey, no worries. Obviously, sad to lose you. Wish you the best. But I'm going to keep these people on my radar and I'm going to keep track of them and I'm going to keep in touch with them. The great thing about this business is that, again, like we're just humans and people are people. So like I end up really enjoying the conversations that I have with people and I have natural touch points for a very long time with them because of the relationships that I built. There have been times where I have lost a team. They've not ended up joining with us, but they came over 2 years later and we were able to double their size and everybody's really happy. So again, no does not mean no, it just means not right now. Obviously, we're always trying to get to yes. The biggest piece of advice I have on that is that you want to drive urgency by mutual alignment. And that is, I'm going to do something for you and you're going to do something for me. So whether that's like, I'm going to try to get you the best possible deal I can get you to come on board with us. But in order to do that, I need you to share your last 24 months of production with me so that I can have an accurate picture of your business. When you phrase it like that, like I'm doing this for you, you're doing this for me, I find that people are pretty willing to share their information. Something else that I find is really helpful is that we offer confidential growth planning as a pre-onboarding incentive, or like maybe we're doing a really cool conference and we're able to like pay for that agent to join that conference ahead of time. There are so many things that you can do to like incentivize, number 1, them to hurry up, and number 2, for them to say yes. But the last piece of that puzzle is that you cannot just throw everything at somebody and expect them to say yes. You really have to do a tailored plan instead of a generic recruiting pitch, and you've got to do an ROI on time saved and potential growth. One thing I know because of Courted is that agents who join me end up growing between 40 and 60% in their first year. So I'm able to use that data and apply it to any agent that I'm having a conversation with. And I tell them, I say, if you join us and you do the things that we're asking you to do, if you listen to our coaching, you have the potential to grow between 40 and 60% in year 1. Like, what are you going to do with that extra $40,000 in your pocket? I know you send your kid to private school. Well, we just paid your private school tuition for next year. So it's really getting personal on how you're going to positively affect their life and like showing them. The other piece of that puzzle is like, I don't just say, agents that join us grow. I pull up my dashboard in Courted and I go through the agents that have joined us in the last 24 months and I walk through, half of them. I show these people the good and the bad. I'm like, this person joined us 6 months ago and you can see that already they've had a 20% increase in their average price point and they've already increased their GCI over last year by 30%. They are doing the things that we asked them to do. And then likewise, somebody may come on board and they're not participating and they're not doing the things that we need them to do, and their GCI is decreasing. And so I'm able to show that via Courted.
Wanted to talk just a little bit about value prop, just because it's another good opportunity to do something that's more interactive. So that solutioning piece, right? You have all of the discovery, you uncover their pain points, you get them talking about their business, you get to know them, and then there's the solutioning piece, which is such an important part to drive them towards the last kind of conversion steps and to earn the right to ask for their business. In that solutioning piece, you need to be very, very knowledgeable about your value prop. You need to actually know how you're going to help them. I know you all talk about your TVPs very kind of frequently. Does everybody want to just take a quick second to write down what your value prop is in a sentence? And you should be able to do it in a sentence. Hopefully, this maybe is an exercise that you'd already done. We actually focus on this at Courted a lot, kind of internally. We have a lot of features, need to be able to kind of talk about it concisely. So if everybody wants to just take a second. And then I would love if somebody would try to share in one sentence with the group what their value prop is.
This is your elevator pitch. Like, if you meet somebody out in public that wants to know what you do, like, you've got to be able to tell them really quickly.
And I think a good answer to this question is it is agent specific. I have a different value prop for different agents. Like bread and butter, agent that you are looking to recruit. What would your value prop be? Yeah, go ahead.
We provide the greatest agent experience on earth. We're trying to give quality life back to the agent. It shouldn't be about money. It's not about splits. We create the greatest agent experience that there is in the industry.
Intentionally vague, intentionally, piques curiosity.
You made me want to ask you more questions right out of the gate, so that was really good.
I help agents sell more and stress less.
Love.
Love it. Who's got one that they're not as confident about? That is what we want to hear.
To provide agents with leverage and leadership so you can get back to doing what's important to you.
Leverage and leadership so you can get back to doing what's important to you.
Yeah, I like to try to create things that are, leverage, leadership.
Alliteration.
Yeah.
Love it.
One question for you, Ashley, your value prop inside and out. When do you get an opportunity to actually share that with the agent? We talked about the process, but are you sharing that on the first call? Like, when are you saying the value prop?
I am really sneaky when it comes to sharing my value proposition. I tie everything to time, money, and growth. I am very casually but confidently sharing how I'm going to save these people time, how I'm going to help them grow their business. And I love to share with people how I'm also going to save them money in the process because we all love that, right? There is not one particular time where I just outwardly say what our value proposition is. I firmly believe in showing the value proposition via what you're doing and how you're supporting agents, because it's one thing to say that you can be valuable to them. It's a whole nother thing entirely to actually show that value.
The one thing that I've seen a lot with value props is that I don't feel like I see enough people focus on what is unique to them about their value prop. So every value prop that I've probably ever seen, and I've seen a lot of presentations where brokerages will walk through their value prop with an agent, and pretty much all of them will say, foster a sense of community, a sense of belonging. They'll say a lot of things that feel just kind of table stakes because you've seen them so often. In some ways, it's important to say some of those things, and it's important to acknowledge, here are the table stakes things, but focus on what is unique. Find what is really, really unique and what other people you are confident could not say about themselves, is what I would encourage all of you to do.
So at the end of all of this, what do you do? How do you get them to say yes or say no? I use a system called Quiller, which allows me to send a really beautiful offer letter. So I say to them, hey, this has been great. Don't feel the need to write down everything we've talked about. I'm going to send this to you in presentation form. I'm going to actually send you an official offer to join that has all of this information in it. When you get that, I would love to know what questions you have. And obviously, we want to follow up. So I'm going to send them this it goes via a link. I ask them, do you want me to text it to you or do you want me to email it to you? And then I give them a little bit of time. I also get notified when they open this. I get notified about how much time they're spending on each particular piece of the offer. And so I know kind of where I need to guide the conversation. My goal there is if they don't sign it right away, then I know that I'm going to have a follow-up phone call with them and figure out why they haven't signed it. And then we're going to get to a yes, or a no very quickly. I don't give them anything physical to take. I personally am not a paper girly. I like things digitally. And so I share their offer letter with them digitally.